Hello, friends, and happy Friday. Happy wet, cool fall has made another appearance Friday here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Hope you guys are as ready for Thanksgiving as you can get. I did buy a turkey, but I haven't thawed it yet. So it's been in the freezer. You know, it usually takes a couple of days for them to thaw out. So I will probably pull that out of the refrigerator or the freezer on Sunday, in the hopes that it'll thaw by Tuesday so that I can get it cooked. That way my oven is free for all the other goodies that I'll prepare that require an oven. I also brought my sourdough starter out of the refrigerator. I haven't fed it in so long. I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring it back to life or not, but I discarded a lot of it just because I haven't been using it anyway, and because I didn't want to have to go through a whole bag of flour just to feed it again. So wish me luck on that, because if I can get that revived, I'd like to maybe make some sourdough rolls with it. I haven't made sourdough rolls before, but I think if my sourdough is going to cooperate, they should be great. Let me wipe off my camera here. All right, so not much happening at the ranch, except that we really are busily sorting through belongings. So Rich and I didn't do a live last night because we are full on in the zone with just going through stuff and tossing things that we didn't even know we had it, and there was no reason to keep it. Richard's really weird about keeping, like, he keeps grocery store receipts and junk mail. So I went through a couple of drawers of the china cabinet yesterday, and that's the kind of stuff I found. I thought, why? It's like some of it's, again, it's just junk mail. It addressed to resident at our address. And then grocery store receipts. Like, so maybe he stopped at Kroger on the way home and got me a bag of potatoes and some butter. And that receipt from like 2 years ago, and that receipt is still in the drawer of the china cabinet. So I had a great time yesterday cleaning up and getting rid of some things that need to be gone before we've really got to find boxes to put it all in for the move. We don't know where we're going yet, so we are more actively looking. We do want to stay within, I'll say within 100 miles of where we are now, and that's because of Richard's commute back and forth to work, so he doesn't want to have to commute too far. Right now he's about 20 minutes. He works about 20 minutes east of here when he goes to the office. I kind of want to be, I mean, I'd love to be northwest of here, but that's a farther drive. So southeast or northeast of here, there's some great horse properties, and it wouldn't be too bad a drive for him. And he's already said that because he can work from home even if he wants to. And he said that probably what he'll want to do based on where we end up, settling is work, 2 or 3 days in the office and then the other couple of days here from home, and maybe alternate that. So 1 week he would be in the office 3 days, home 2 days. The next week he would be in the office 2 days, home 3 days. So we'll see how that goes. But he does have the freedom to do that. So that'll help at least open up some more possibilities of us if we end up finding something that we really love that's farther than we think we want to be. I do have a guest backstage for us today, and you are going to all learn some things about what she does right along with me. Hello to, hey, Erica. Hey, Jerry. So I've got a couple friends here that I want to say hello to. And Jerry, how are you? So Jerry has had some health issues in the past week, and it's been on my to-do list to send you a text, but I figured you were probably getting so many texts from people checking on you that I didn't want it to turn into kind of an annoying thing to be getting another text. But I hope you're back to normal and home and feeling good. And thanks for being here at the stream today. So again, my guest today is Kristin Elaine, and she is an aviation attorney. So I'm not going to pretend I don't really know what that means. I have an idea of what I think it means, but we're going to let her tell us what that means. And if that job is as glamorous as it seems like it would be, but it's always like that. When you don't know what it is and you don't do it, you always think it's something that's way different from what it really is. So without further ado, let me bring up my guest and neighbor, Kristin Newman.
Hello.
And let's get us on screen together. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Well, are you ready for Thanksgiving?
Not even a little bit. I'm ready to be off, but not ready as far as cooking.
Is that that's pretty typical? Do you usually have still some last minute things to do before the holiday?
Pretty typical, yes.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so there's no need to be stressed because you've lived through every other Thanksgiving, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So, are you joining us from an office today? Are you at home?
I'm at home. I get the pleasure to work from home a couple of days a week, and then I go into the office a couple of days a week.
Okay, that's so nice.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever had a job like that. I come from a healthcare background, though, so you can't really.
It's a little hard to do that.
Take care of patients from home, right?
Right.
I mean, although like bad weather, like I might have made phone calls or sent emails or filed claims or something from home,
right.
But can't really do those kind of things. But what a blessing. And I think a lot of industries realized with the shutdowns how much you really can do from home.
Right.
You don't
There's
have
a lot
to,
more.
Have people come in and be physically in the building. So first question, always my first question is, what drew you? Well, first, I guess we'll just go really broad. What made you want to become an attorney?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I started my undergrad in marketing, and I really was interested in political marketing and kind of the campaigns, if you will, of politics. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to be talking about politics, then I need to know what I'm talking about. So I went to law school, and I went into law school thinking, I know what I don't want to do. And then it kind of just from there whittled itself down. I got an internship at a aviation attorney or an aviation law firm, and fell in love with just learning new things every day. So it was really interesting how I came to be in the law, because it's not something I ever saw myself doing. My dad is an attorney, and I always said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. And I ended up doing it.
Now, you mentioned the specialties you already knew you didn't want to do. Can you tell us what any of those were and why you knew they weren't for you?
Yeah. So I knew I did not want to do something in tax. I didn't want to do like criminal law. None of those sounded like something that I could fully put my heart into, or family law, because family law, God bless family lawyers, because you see people in like the worst times of their lives.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes that I just want to see a happy day.
Yeah. So that's a lot of weight.
Right. And so there were certain things that I specifically knew I didn't want to do. And those three were those. For sure I didn't want to do. And then from there it was let's just kind of dabble.
Okay. So is your dad a specialty attorney also?
He is. And in fact, he started out as a family attorney, but now he does estate planning and kind of business formation. And so if you need a will, or if you need, a trust or something like that, that's the stuff my dad does.
Okay. So have there always been aviation attorneys, or is that kind of a new specialty? Was it different once upon a time?
So I'm sure it was different, but there have been aviation attorneys at least for the last probably 30, 40 years. You've got various times, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but there's so many areas of aviation law that people don't think about, right? I mean, you think about international issues, you think about contracts between Bell Helicopter and the government, those types of things. But it's been around for quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay. And that's funny. So, and I love, sometimes I'll do interviews and I'll ask a question and the guest, it just naturally moves into something that's a little farther down on my list. So you're already like taking so much load off of me today because you're really sharing with us. So tell us, like, what does a real day look like? If you really have, let's say you have a busy day, you got a lot of cases or a lot of things to look into, what does that look like? What does it really mean that you do?
Yeah. So I would be considered more of a litigation attorney. When you think of attorneys, there's really two categories, right? There's a transactional attorney and there's a litigation attorney. And I am litigation. So I'm in your courtrooms. I'm in a deposition and I'm asking people questions. Part of the reason why I like being an attorney is I am, I'm a naturally nosy person. And so I get to ask all of the questions, and I get to ask questions that maybe aren't typically socially acceptable, but I get to because I'm in my job and I get to do that.
Okay.
But I will be on phone calls with clients. I'm answering discovery, which other people get to ask my clients all of the questions. So I would say there isn't a typical day, which I like. I really like the fact that I don't have to do the exact same paperwork every single day, and I'm up and I'm moving and I'm in front of people talking, and so it's a little bit of everything each day, I would say.
Okay. And who typically hires an aviation attorney? Is it pilots or whole airlines or
Yeah, so
manufacturers or?
that's actually a really good question. So there's insurers, and they'll hire us because they insure your airlines, or they'll insure airports or mechanics, air pilots. So there's kind of this wide array of people who will hire an aviation attorney for various things. And I like to say that I kind of dabble in 4 different areas, and it's anything that happens at an airport, right? So you'll have slip and falls at airports, or something that may happen on an aircraft where, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you'll be putting your luggage in the overhead compartment and it just kind of slips, and heaven forbid if it falls on somebody. That scares me to death if that happens. But if that happens, then sometimes it lands on my desk. Or there's also agricultural aviation. So where they will fly an aircraft over a crop to spray herbicide on it. Or if there's obviously small aircraft crashes, then we'll, represent a mechanic, or we'll represent the pilot or the person who owned the plane. So it's so many different entities that may need an aviation attorney.
Okay. And again, see, the next question that I thought would be the natural thing was whether or not you deal more with safety cases or passenger issues, and you're covering it so beautifully. What's something people assume that you deal with that you actually don't?
So actually, I've had a lot of people ask if I am dealing with you'll see these videos that go viral of passengers that are screaming at the top of their lungs and they get drug out of airplanes. Or there was one recently, maybe a year or 2 ago, where a lady, was screaming and having kind of a mental breakdown inside of an airport. And a lot of those don't end up on my desk, which is interesting, because you would think that they would, but they really don't.
Okay.
And a lot of that is because it's handled in-house through the airport or through an airline typically.
Okay. And is there a standout case though, or do you have a story that if someone ever says, what's the weirdest thing you've had to deal with? Do you have something like that you can share with us?
Yeah. So, there's always going to be a question about the other side. Have you ever met somebody famous? And I actually got my first time to be able to say, yes, I have. There's a case actually out in Arizona that there was a plane that came down in Arizona, and it was owned by Vince Neil, who is a famous singer. And I was able to work on that matter for a little bit. So that was really kind of interesting. What I think is kind of funny is the cases that stand out to me are the ones that were a little bit frustrating at the time. And whenever I work on an agricultural case, it's 6 months of learning everything you can learn about tomatoes and what kind of herbicides are going to kill a tomato, or an onion, or a strawberry. And it's those types of things where I'm going, I never want to see a strawberry day in my life again. I never want to see an onion for the next 6 months. So those are kind of the things where it's a little frustrating at the time, but afterwards you're kind of like, well, now I have this little bit of extra information that I'll never know about. And
maybe you'll be on Jeopardy one day.
Right, exactly. I'm going to win trivia somewhere.
Yeah. If you had to pick a super specialty, if you really had to hyper focus it down to the thing that is your favorite thing to do, either because you're just really good at it and it tends to turn out the way you expect, or because it's just really interesting to you, is there a certain facet of what you do that if you had to do that all the time, it would be okay because you like it?
Yeah, I actually really enjoy negotiating. And so mediations are probably my jam. I truly enjoy taking the client through every little detail of what's going on in the case, and here's how we can win, or hey, guess what? This is probably not the best case for us, so we're gonna have to massage around the good and the bad here, and really take in what we're not take in, but we're gonna have to understand that there's gonna be some payment made. But I love negotiating. I love the back and forth of it and understanding where the other side's coming from. And it's a little bit like trial prior to the stress of trial.
Okay. What percentage of the time can you estimate that just a regular person, a passenger, say, reaches out to have you represent them for some reason?
So I don't typically represent the plaintiff side of things.
Okay.
But I would say we do represent, or we have been reached out. Like, people will reach out to us and say, hey, can you help us? And a lot of the reason why we won't do that is because they want to, they want to sue X, Y, and Z airline, and I can't do that because I'm representing them over here. It's a conflict thing.
Okay.
So it's not like we wouldn't take the case. It's more like we can't take it right now.
Okay.
So I would say a majority of the time, if I get a call that it's a passenger, I would send them to one of the plaintiff's attorney in the DFW area that we work with a lot.
Okay. That was going to be my next question, whether you have others in your firm that handle that, or if at least you have a list of people to whom you can refer.
I do. Yeah. We've got, so DFW is actually kind of interesting because we're the aviation attorneys who work in DFW, work in pretty boutique firms. So we all know each other and we all are always in the same cases together. And so if anybody were to ever come to me and say, hey, I've got this issue, I just have to sue X, Y, and Z airline, then I would say, listen, I probably can't help you, but if I can't help you, then go to this person.
All right.
And I know without a shadow of a doubt that person's going to help. I don't like referring if I don't know for sure that person's going to be a good person.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. I know, I've said before with a lot of, I don't know how to say it. Professionals, it's hard enough to find like a hairdresser that you feel comfortable with and that you can trust and that has a good reputation. So surely it would be that much more important if you're talking about someone associated with a legal case or something that could really turn out badly if it's not a good match.
Right.
So I know you don't necessarily represent plaintiffs or say passengers that might have a cause for a claim against an airline or an airport, but do you have to factor in like passenger rights into a lot of what you do? And I don't even know, is there like an official listing of passenger rights as it pertains to aircrafts and flying?
So sort of. There's kind of this it's not required, but there are these I would say common sense, but sometimes that's not common. But I would say that yes, there's things that we take into consideration when we're going through a case, and maybe somebody did have a bag fall on their head from an overhead compartment, right? So say that happens. The airline isn't necessarily going to say, oh, it wasn't our fault, we don't care about you. There's a human being over there, and they do care about their passengers, and they want us to make sure that that's conveyed to the other side whenever we have those kinds of incidents. They're compassionate people, and it's like that in a lot of lawsuits, right? That you've got two human beings, they're just maybe fighting for
circumstances are just
right.
So do you work with like the NTSB for plane crashes and malfunctions and things like that?
We do. So I would say that if there's a small aircraft crash, first and foremost, they're going to be out there, and we wait until they are done with their investigation. A lot of times we can't even see the aircraft until the NTSB says, okay, we're releasing it. You may now look at it and do whatever testing you want to do. Okay. So there's often times where we're communicating pretty regularly with an NTSB investigator to say, hey, what's going on? Is your report done? Can we see the plane? What findings are you going to release from this? Although they're not going to release findings until they release it publicly. But there are times where they'll come out with a finding, and they'll say, oh, the reason this plane crashed was because the pilot made an error. And there's an opportunity where you can come back and say, actually, I don't think that that's right. I think there was this part that was broken, or I think there was this part that was missing. Can we all look at this again? And so you actually can work with them and find out, if their findings are correct, and sometimes they're not correct.
Okay. And do you feel like, is this a profession that kind of has seasonal trends? Like I'm imagining a lot of people probably fly in the summer when the kids are out of school, and they don't fly other times of year or holidays to go see families. So do you find yourself busier at certain times of the year?
So I would say yes, but not because of seasonal travel, right? Because if I have something happen on a plane, I have 2 years to file my lawsuit. So just because it happened in summer doesn't mean I won't file my lawsuit next winter or what have you. But I would say that we're busier in some times of the year simply because nobody wants to go to trial in December when everybody is trying to take off for Christmas. And a summer trial sounds like the worst thing in the world whenever people are trying to get out of town with their kids. So I'd say that we're busier in certain times of the year, but only because we're trying to schedule around our personal lives.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's right. You're people too.
Right.
So back to the working with the NTSB and plane crashes and things. What is something that you feel like the media gets wrong a lot about aviation law, or or their role in investigating and resolving issues related to crashes or malfunctions?
I feel like the media jumps to conclusions a lot, right? They will say, well, the NTSB, they're investigating it, but it's clearly this, and you're going, that's not clear. That's not so clear. And a lot of times in these small aircraft crashes, or whether it be an issue in the airport or even on a plane, sometimes what is clear isn't actually very clear. So I think that is one thing that I think, media just jumps to conclusions, and I think they jump to conclusions in a lot of things.
Yeah, I was going to say, can't we all name a big long list of stuff where they're just looking for a headline, just looking for clicks or likes or views, or so I have primarily an animal focused channel, more of a homestead thing. Fridays are my days to step completely outside of that and learn about things that don't have to do with growing tomatoes or strawberries. And I'm wondering if you have information or can talk to us at all about like service animals or just animals in general as it relates to aviation law or aviation rules. And have you ever had a case where there was a service animal or an animal involved?
Luckily, I have not. And I say luckily because I am a huge animal advocate. I've got 3 dogs at home, grew up around animals of all sizes. And so if I were to have a case with an animal in it, I would probably become very attached to the case.
Okay.
But I would say that one of the good things that the aviation industry does is respect the rights of service animals that I've seen. I have not seen as many issues of people being turned away because they have an emotional support animal, where you see that a lot in like grocery stores where animals will be turned away because of they're an emotional support animal, they're not a service animal. Well, you don't get to ask those questions.
Okay, right.
So I think the aviation industry actually does that very well.
Okay. And what is so to get your law degree, I'm guessing it's kind of like medicine. You go to school and get a bachelor's degree in something.
Yes.
Then you go to law school. So how long, what kind of time span was that for you to become a specialty attorney? And is it different? So again, I just have healthcare kind of to reference. You can be, well, there aren't really any general practitioners anymore, but they all start out the same. They have to have a bachelor's degree in something. Usually it's a heavy science or, biology related thing. Then they go to medical school. Then they have to do X number of years of specialty training, internships, and things like that. Does it work the same way for attorneys?
So a little bit. So attorneys in Texas, anyways, we go to undergrad. We get our 4-year degree, and then you go to law school. Law school is typically 3 years, depending on if you're in a full-time program or if you're in like a part-time program. It may take you longer.
Okay.
And then from there, you can get specializations. They're called LLMs. Usually, those are in things like tax law. There's an international LLM for international law. But once you graduate law school, you can really go in whatever direction you want, which is a little scary sometimes because you think, well, we're kind of just throwing you in and you got to sink or swim here. But the good thing that I have seen in a lot of law firms is there's a lot of times where you do get a lot of fast learning. You get a lot of opportunity to see what's going on in different areas, and you're pretty much required to get an internship during the summers between your years in law school. So you get that opportunity to say, well, I'm going to intern at the DA's office and I'm going to see if criminal law is for me, or I'm going to intern at an estate planning office and see if that's really what I want to do.
Okay.
So you do get that option. Then after law school, there's an option to take a specialty certification test, and you can get certified in family law. You can get certified in trial prep or trial lawyer. You can get certified in just pretty much anything you can think of. There's a certification. In fact, I was just part of the group that pushed through the first certification in Texas for aviation law. And Texas is only the second state in the United States where you can get certified in aviation law.
How interesting. And what is the holdup then with the other states?
I don't know, because the other state is Florida, and I would not have thought Florida would have been the front runner for aviation.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think is niche, and it's very interesting. It's something that I think is great to be able to say you're certified, because I was kind of part of helping push that through. I haven't had the opportunity to take the test just yet, but I think it's great that Texas is kind of one of the forerunners of that.
Yeah, that's very nice. So talking about your internships, did you have some interesting internships, and did those help you really hone in on what you knew you wanted to do, and again, support the things that you already knew you didn't want to do? Is that making sense what I'm asking?
Absolutely. And I actually did an internship at the Oklahoma DA's office, and it solidified that I didn't want to do criminal, but it also solidified that I really wanted to be in the courtroom, and I wanted to do litigation. I don't think that I could be one of those people that sits behind a desk all day and just does contracts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I did take that. I did an internship with an estate planning law firm, and I knew that while anybody who I talk to, I'm saying, hey, do you have a will? I will tell them that. But I also don't think that I could do that. I need a little bit more. The challenge of trial, I think, is what I seek.
And how often are you in court, like for an actual trial?
So trial, we actually were. Aviation is interesting in that while we head towards trial, a lot of times we're settling prior to trial.
Oh, right.
So I have been practicing almost 10 years now, and I've only been to trial twice, I believe. And so it's not something that we often are in, because most of the time we're settling or we're getting out on what's called motion practice, where we tell the judge, hey, there's no legal argument here.
Okay. And is that good, or are you sad? Because you mentioned that you learned that you like the courtroom. You like that courtroom concept, or that atmosphere maybe. So is it disappointing at times that you don't really get to be in court as much?
I think it's disappointing at times, because especially those times where we get up to the eve of trial and I'm so excited and we've already done all this work and we have all the prep done, and then it settles and I'm like, man, I got so close.
Right.
But I also will say that it's also a blessing, because there's a lot of times where I'm not in Dallas Fort Worth. I represent clients all over the nation, and so
okay.
If we were to go to trial in, say, Arizona or New Mexico or New York, I would probably be away from home for a good week or two.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of a blessing that I don't, but I also get in front of the judge quite often with hearings and other motion practice that we have.
Is there anything else you feel like you wish people understood more about what you do, whether it's in general what attorneys do, or specifically what an aviation attorney does?
So generally speaking, I think I'd say attorneys are not magic makers. We're great with words, and we can send those intimidating letters, but I would say that sometimes that's just not going to fix a problem, and you're going to have to go the long run of trial, or litigation rather, right? A lot of people say, oh, just send an intimidating letter and that'll stop what's happening. And you're like, Well, maybe
I
not.
wish. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
There would never be trials if that was true, right?
Right, right. But I think as far as aviation, it's interesting because we see a lot of different things happening, right? There's I have one of my specialties, I wouldn't say specialties, but one of the things that I love to get across my desk is something that's an international issue. And I think that a lot of people don't see that. They don't, it doesn't click in their head whenever they think aviation attorney. And I think that's one of my favorite things about it is the international aspect of it.
Okay. But there's so much more to know, right?
Yes.
You've got to really be knowledgeable if it's not just domestic stuff that every attorney knows, even if they're not an aviation attorney, maybe.
Yeah, but it's fun because you get to see, if you're dealing with British Airways versus Emirates or Qantas, you get to see how other countries would have dealt with this.
Interesting.
So it does get to be a little bit more convoluted, if you will, but I like that different layer added to it.
Interesting. So are you a plane lover? Do you love to fly?
I do love to fly. I'm not a pilot. Everybody asks me that, and I have I've had pilots in my family. Both of my uncles were pilots on my dad's side, but I'm not a pilot, and people keep asking me how come, and I'm going, because that would just be another test I would have to take, and I feel like I've taken a lot of tests in my life.
And there's plenty of qualified people around to fly when you want to
Right.
fly somewhere, right?
Yes.
So when you're not wearing your lawyer hat, who are you? What do you like to do? Did you grow up here in the area?
I did. So this is going to be a little different than probably you've heard of before, but I help run. I'm the president of a women's kickball league, and so I help run that 6 months out of the year, and it's a lot of fun. We bring women from 18 to I think the oldest we've had is 70. Come out and play, and it's great because we get to bring women together from all over the community, whether they're born athletes or this is the first time they've put on some shoes in a while.
How fun. You did say kickball, yes? Like kickball that's sort of like baseball, but you kick a ball and then run around?
Yes, exactly.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even know that was still happening.
Yes.
That is amazing. What a fun, what an enriching thing.
Yes, it's great. We just had our annual charity event. We do a charity event every year where each year we pick a different charity. This year we did Toys for Tots. Last year we did the Good Girls Society, where it helps women coming out of transitioning out of jail time, and they're transitioning into the community, and we donated a bunch to them. The year before we donated to animals, and so we try to give back to our community as much as possible.
That's amazing, and I'll need to get some links from you after the show that I can post on the channel and on my Facebook for people to get involved in that if they want to donate or contribute or check out the kickball league. That is so amazing to me. I really didn't even know that was still happening anywhere, and I actually have some very good childhood memories of playing kickball at school. So
yes, you have to join us.
How fun is that? So you talked about dogs. You said you have 3 dogs. What kind of dogs are they?
So I've got 1 chocolate lab, and then I've got 2 who are they are a mix between a Great Pyrenees and a Red Heeler.
Okay. So what size is that?
Well, they're from the same litter. One is the size of a lab, and one is the size of a Red Heeler. Okay. So a little bit smaller, about 30 pounds, 40 pounds.
Okay.
And the other 2, the chocolate lab and the taller one, is about 60 pounds.
Okay. And you grew up around here?
I did. I went to Keller High School and graduated there, and then I graduated from TCU, so I'm kind of stayed in the area.
Okay. Where's your favorite place to visit, though, if you get outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Oh, great question. If I go international, Probably Costa Rica.
Okay.
I love me some Costa Rica.
Okay.
But I also really like, I like going to Austin. I have loved just kind of bebopping around the United States and seeing different places.
Okay. You have a bucket list you're working on as far as travel?
Oh, yes, always. I just checked off Banff for my list.
When were you there?
I was there at the beginning of October, and it was amazing.
So was there snow already?
You know, they had their very first snow my very first day there.
Okay.
And it was picturesque. I mean, you sit there and you think, this is just, it's a fake background.
It's a postcard.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Did you go to Lake Louise?
I did.
It's a postcard. It's like CGI,
unreal.
right?
Yes. Yes. I'm going, this is unreal.
Yeah, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, what a fun bucket list thing to mark off then.
Yeah.
And do you have a bucket list thing that you haven't done yet that you're really looking forward to?
I would love to go to Italy someday.
Okay.
That is one of my favorite. I would love to go there. I'd also love to go to Charleston, South Carolina. I've never been there, and I've heard that it's just an amazing place to go.
Okay. Are you from a big family?
So I am. There's 3 of us girls. I'm the middle of 3 girls. Okay. And then my mom had 3 sisters, and my dad had 2 brothers. And so we're kind of a big family. Yeah.
Okay. That's good at holiday time for sure.
Yes. Yeah. It's great to see everybody.
And before I let you go, I love to ask this question because I just feel like it tells us a lot about a person. So the scenario is that you're stranded on an island.
Okay.
And you can only take 3 things with you. There are no restrictions on what the things are. So you can only have 3 things with you on this island. What are they?
Okay. So I'm probably bringing a pocket knife. I'm probably bringing a book just for the heck of it. And then because I'm probably the most Irish person out here, sunscreen.
You're very practical, and yet you've got that little self-care part there, the book.
Yes.
What do you like to read?
I love some historical fiction. Kristin Elaine is great.
Okay.
I also like to put in a little bit of thriller in there, so any kind of a murder mystery is great also.
Okay. Yeah, I think you'd probably do okay on the island. I don't know that anyone has even mentioned a pocket knife before
I just have to feel like that would be helpful.
Oh yeah. How interesting. Yeah. Again, I just love to see it because for me, I feel like it tells us, do they lean more toward the practical side? Do they lean more toward the posh side? Like, they still want to have their, I don't know, their mascara and lipstick with them, or anyway, yeah. So I just love asking that because I feel it gives us a little glimpse really into who you are when you're not, again, doing the thing that you do.
Right.
I'm sure sometimes more hours of the day than you get to spend at home. Yes. So that's all I had for you today. And again, thank you, because so many of the questions I had on my list, I didn't even have to ask them because you just naturally understood that, this is going to probably be the next thing that we would talk about once this question is asked. So,
well, thank you for having me. I'm a bit of a gabber, so I appreciate.
That works here. This is a gabber channel for sure. Anyone who's been here for a minute can tell you that. And again, Fridays, I'm just so blessed because Fridays I get to step completely outside of, recipe videos and animal care and rescue and talk about stuff that I would never know it if I didn't meet people,
right,
tell me about it. So I really didn't, when you mentioned in that Facebook post, when I put out my little invitation to see if anybody would be a guest, and you said you were an aviation attorney, like right away I just thought, well, that's a thing? What is
right
that? I mean, again, I had ideas of what that probably meant, but I just didn't even know there was such a specialty.
Right.
So
I didn't either until I decided to do it, and
this
kind
is,
of fell
yeah,
into
so
it.
this has been so interesting to me. And a lot of what I want to do too when I have guests come on the show is just give them a better understanding and appreciation for what professionals like you do. That, you know, there's a lot of thoughtful planning and a lot of balancing of sides and information and
Right.
investigation that has to happen. And you know, part of that is, I know you probably have had to deal with just the bad attitude and the stereotypes that people have about certain professions. And I love bringing people on so we can bust those myths. I love having people come on and let others see, look, she's just a real person.
Right.
She's just a real person. She's a nice person. She's a smart
I'm not
person.
a mean attorney, I
No,
promise.
she's not. She's not. And yet the ones that do the, you know, unsavory things, they get all over the news and everybody
Right.
talks about it, and then people think, well, you know, they must all be like that. And
Right.
I love proving them wrong. So thank you for helping me do that today.
Well, I
And
appreciate you
thank
doing that.
you for responding to that Facebook post and saying that you would be my guest, because I've already had a little string of people from our neighbor group be on the show that
Oh, good.
I would never have even known. Like, how would I have even ever known that you were an aviation attorney? And maybe
Right.
I could send you a message and say, hey, you want to be on my show? So I'm so grateful that you responded and that you really did want to be part of the process for me. And happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you
I
as
hope
well.
you stay stress-free, even if everything's not quite as ready. I mean, I'm the same way. It'll be the day before, and I'm going to think of something that,
Right.
you know, oh, I still need this, or I didn't get enough of this, or I'll just decide I want to do something completely new and different and add to the big long list of things I already have. So
After 4 trips to the store, and I gotta go back.
absolutely, that's exactly how it goes. Yeah. So,
Yes.
so again, be safe, be happy, be well, have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll be following along with you on Facebook, and you know, just seeing what you're up to. And again, I'll send you a message on Facebook so you can send me some links, because I'd love to get the word out about the kickball
Oh,
league
perfect.
and the charity work that you do there, and anything else that you want to share that I can help spread the message about.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
All right.
that.
Thank you, Kristin. Have a wonderful
Thank you.
weekend and great rest of the day.
Thanks, you as well.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That was my neighbor, Kristin Elaine. And she's again among the handful of people that responded when I put a little blurb out on our neighborhood group, asking if anyone who had an interesting or unusual profession or life story, if they might want to come on and visit with you guys and talk about what they do. And so I'm just, wow, what a gold mine that was. I mean, it's a pretty good sized group. So I knew when I posted it, odds were good. There would be at least a few people that did something that would be interesting and enjoyable to learn about on a stream. What I didn't know was, would people really want to share it? Would they really want to answer in that post and say, oh, I do this, I do this? You know, I'm glad that it turned out that they did. And then it was, would they really want to come on the show and talk on camera? And so far, look how that's worked out. They really have done it. So there won't be an interview next week just because it's Thanksgiving week. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be doing a stream or not. If I do, it'll just be something light, and Rich will be home. I think he's taking all next week off. He was going to be off Thursday and Friday anyway, but I think he said he's taking off the whole week. He's got so much vacation time. So he's taken off like 1 or 2 days a week for the last 3 or 4 weeks, because he's just got so much vacation time. And we never go anywhere because we can't go anywhere because we're very tied down with the animals here. So that's another of my hopes in finding a new place, is that I hope we can be in a place where maybe we can continue our farm and ranch work. That's how Rich Cat Ranch started. It didn't start as a YouTube channel. I didn't post my first video until 2021, but we've had Rich Cat Ranch has been our family business since 2014. Is that right? Yeah, 2014. And we take care of people's farm animals and properties, water their plants and bring in the mail and feed the cats and stuff like that. And we've done that since 2014. And it was just because of people who knew how much work we did with animals that they started saying to me, "You ought to have a YouTube channel. You should post these videos, that you're putting on Facebook. You should put that on YouTube." Which I thought, no, that's too much work, or I don't even know how to do that. And here we are today. So again, I'm really happy that I can have Fridays to do non-channel, non-homestead kind of stuff, because I like learning. And in spite of the fact that I really like animals better than most people most of the time, this is a great way to still meet people and socialize, quote unquote, without having to be in a crowded space or hunt for a parking space, or, put on makeup and get dressed. I mean, obviously I try to make myself presentable for the show, but it's still comfortable because I'm sitting right here in my own house. So I put a little banner up earlier, but let me put it up again. Thanks if you were part of the live watching batch of folks today. And thanks if you're part of the rewatch crew, because both of those mean a lot to me. We really are on a watch hours quest right now. So I've got a post up yesterday or day before with some of our playlists. And if you've got a device that you can crank up and click on a playlist and let it run for me, that would be so appreciated. You have no idea. And first Friday in December is my longtime friend, real life friend, Gordy Seward, who will talk with us about cybersecurity. I imagine there are people out there that don't even realize they've been the victims of some sort of cyber scam. But I know a lot of you have been, and you have been, and you're aware of the dangers. But he's going to talk to us about how to stay safe and how to spot scams and all the things that we need to know. It might be an easier thing. Sometimes I feel like, newer, younger generations understand a little bit more about this kind of stuff, because some of the people now, like, there were all these technical things were around like when they were born. But when you're like me, we didn't have computers at school. I remember being really excited when Leslie, I don't know if it was kindergarten. It was either when so Leslie's my oldest daughter, and she will be 42 in December this year. And so when she started either kindergarten or the first grade, they had a computer in their classroom. I mean, all of the parents just, jaws dropped when we dropped our kids off the first day and saw a computer in the classroom. I don't even remember what they did with it. And it wasn't every kid had a computer. There was just a little computer station in the classroom, and it was the old Microsoft, the big clunky monitor thing sitting on a little desk. And then that moved on to, by the time the kids were in high school, right? Everybody's got iPads and portable stuff. We weren't even allowed to bring a calculator to school when I was a kid. We were not allowed to use a calculator. We had to be able to do the math on paper with a pencil or a pen or whatever we were using. So I think sometimes maybe younger folks might be a little more savvy about some of this stuff, which is probably it explains why a lot of times it's those younger ones that are creating these scams and schemes and shams and frauds, right? I don't think it's 60 plus year old people that are, finding ways to get into bank accounts. Maybe it is, but if they would just devote their attention and energy to something worthwhile, how much more wonderful could the world be? But we're going to be packing. So I may just take all of next week off. Obviously, I don't think Rich and I are going to do a Thursday stream next week because it's a holiday. So you may not see me until that week that Gordy will be on the show. Sunday night, episode 2 of the Brew Diaries will be on the channel. And we're going to just talk about a different tea each week because I love tea. I've weaned myself off of coffee again. It's probably the 12th time in my life. I like coffee, but I get so dependent on the caffeine that I get almost migraine headaches if I don't drink coffee. And I don't like that. I don't like being dependent on anything that I put in my body. That's why I don't like to take medicines. Um, so I've weaned myself off of coffee, and I'm back to tea. And so I'm drinking combinations of, regular tea that's got a little caffeine in it and herbal teas and things that are naturally caffeine free. And each week I'm going to talk to you about some of my favorites. So last week was the first episode. Episode 2 is coming up on Sunday. Tomorrow I have a long form video coming out to show you something that I like to do here periodically for the dogs. It's good for the cats too, but I make it mostly for the dogs. And then I guess we'll be getting into holiday type stuff. So that does it for today. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll do a book club. I haven't done a book club stream in a while. So if I'm back next Friday, it might be to do a book club thing just because I haven't done one in a while. And I've read a nice, wonderful string of books that I absolutely loved. And I can share those with you. But be safe, be happy, be well, and I will see you in the next video or live stream, whichever comes first. And have a wonderful, safe, happy Thanksgiving. Much love to all of you, and I'll see you soon. Bye, friends.